Hello, I'm Kelly Eggers, your Assistant Chief Fire Marshal, and today we're here to talk fire safety in the kitchen. Being in the firehouse, you have to cook a good meal, and that's what we're going to do here today, and I've invited some special guests with us. Senior Resources Director Barb Markham is with us, and she's brought some of her lovely friends from the Friendship Center. Hi, ladies. How you doing today?
Oh,
We're doing great.
Great.
Thank you for inviting us.
You're very welcome. Glad you can make it, Barb. Thanks for coming.
Well, with me today, I have Diana Raymore and Eileen Rodak, and we're very interested in what you're going to talk about today. We had your sign, Stand By Your Pan, out at the Friendship Center for a week or two. Obviously, it was very important because we saw it all around town.
Yes.
So tell me, is it true that cooking fires are the #1 cause of house fires all through the country?
Barb, that is absolutely correct. Cooking fires are responsible, the ignition of cooking equipment is responsible for 48% of all home fires. All right, those fires account for 21% of all home fatalities and 45% of all fire-related injuries.
So the Stand By Your Pan is something that people have to remember because it is really important not to ignite anything that's on the stove.
Well, Barb, that is very important, all right? In fact, 1/3 of the house fires are a result of unattended cooking fires, all right? And those fires, again, account for 45% of all fire fatalities. So that is the most important thing. When you ignite that burner, you're committed. You want to stay in the kitchen.
Right.
Kelly,
Yes.
what is the best way to extinguish a stovetop fire?
Yeah, like does it matter what it is? Like if it's oil or if it's something else?
Well, the pan, if a pan catches on fire, first of all, you want to be prepared, all right? That involves staying in the kitchen, so you want to remain by your pan. You should always have a lid available right next to your cooking pots or pans. So if you do get a fire, we want to put that lid on as soon as possible, as long as you can do it safely. We don't want you hurting yourself.
Well,
But what
fire
that
needs
does,
oxygen, right?
fire needs oxygen, Barb, and what this does is snuff that out. Eliminates the oxygen, and that fire should go out immediately once you put that lid on. After you put the lid on, Diane, you want to make sure you go ahead and turn off the burner. Yes, ma'am. All right.
Kelly, how about fire extinguishers?
Well, the Westland Fire Department, Irene, does endorse the use of fire extinguishers, all right? In fact, we advise a 2A 10BC extinguisher. We do suggest that you know what you're doing when you utilize them, all right? The use, if we have a cooking fire and you're going to break this out, again, you need to know what you're doing, and really you should reserve it for fires that are outside of the pan. All right. If you do use this, the last thing in the world you want to do is point the nozzle directly into the pan, especially when we're using grease. Grease or oils are involved because it comes out of here under great pressure, and what that will do is it will cause whatever you have in the pan that's on fire to leave the pan, and now your cabinets are on fire, your floors are on fire. So you want to be careful, and again, you definitely want to know what you're doing with the extinguisher.
What are some of the things that we should consider to help prevent cooking fires?
Well, that is a very important question, Diane, all right? And again, the most important thing is stand by your pan. After that, I'd have to say housekeeping is probably the second most important thing that you want to manage, all right? So, do like I do. Don't make fun of me, my wife. She's at home watching this right now. You need to clean up as you go. After each meal, you want to make sure the whole cooking area is clean, top to bottom. I can't tell you how many fires I've been on that we had a pan catch fire, and because they hadn't wiped down their walls or cabinets or refrigerator, that fire was allowed to spread to other parts of the home. All right, so that's very important. Before you ignite the burner, you want to make sure that there's no combustible materials around the whole area. So that includes pot holders, dish towels, curtains, and cookbooks. All right, if it burns, napkins, any of that. If it burns, we don't want it anywhere near the stove top.
Right.
All right.
Okay, you mentioned the importance of cleaning your oven regularly. What happens if you do wind up with a fire in your oven?
Yeah, well, you know, I did forget to mention that, Irene. You're right. It is very important. That's part of what you want to do to prevent fires. Make sure you clean that oven regularly. If there is a fire inside the oven, all right, what you want to do, most importantly, shut the oven off and close the oven door. All right, if the fire does not go out when you do that, and you have an extinguisher and you know how to use it, now would be the time to use it. All right, or Second choice would be you and everybody that's in the house get out of the house and call 911.
Okay.
Kelly, I'd like to use a toaster oven. As a matter of fact, I use it quite a lot. Are there any fire hazards that can be associated with other appliances in the kitchen?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, it's important. What we always suggest is you don't use appliances unless they have a UL rating. All right. And after that, the most important thing is you want to make sure that that's plugged into the appropriate outlet. All right. And you want that to be directly plugged into the outlet. Don't use power strips or extension cords. Okay. If you are having problems with your appliances, be sure to have them maintenance or serviced by a competent individual. Somebody that knows what they're doing, probably not your husband in the garage, maybe. I don't know.
Well, specifically, as you know, I'm the Senior Resources Director, so I'm curious, are there any tips that you could give that would apply specifically to seniors? Because many of them live like in Greenwood Villa, which is a high-rise, so it's very important that buildings such as that don't catch on fire.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we don't want any fires, that's for sure, Barb. As far as the senior-specific considerations, we want them to follow the same precautions as we all take, all right? But there are some special concerns that, in the immortal words of Mick Jagger, what a drag it is growing old, right? So when we get a little older, our concern with seniors in the kitchen is they as we age, we may not be able to react quickly to an event, either to put out the fire or to get out. So that could either be due to medications that affect our cognitive. It could be just a decreased dexterity, and we're falling apart at some point.
Well,
So-
you know, some people, I mean, as time goes on, you don't see as well, you don't often hear as well, you might not even smell as well. So like something like you would smell a pan burning, you walked away, thought you turned it off and it's still going. You may have a delayed thing just because you can't smell it or hear a sound.
That is 100% accurate, Barb. So that being said, the most important thing would be stand by your pan,
pan.
right, ladies? So yeah,
Stand
that's the
by
most
your
important
pan.
thing. You want to stand by your pan. Also, some other considerations, we could research products that have automatic shutoffs, appliances that have automatic shutoffs, and there are home residential cooktop suppression systems that you can also install for relatively low costs if you're concerned with an older adult that may be living by themselves.
Right.
Yeah, I do have a hot pot. When it boils, it turns off. So
Yes.
those things are really smart. So
Yes,
for
ma'am.
any of those people looking for gifts for mom or grandma and grandpa, that would be a wonderful suggestion. That
is a
looks
great
good. Hot
idea.
peppers.
Hot peppers.
What are we making here today?
Hopefully you ladies like it spicy.
Spicy is good.
Spicy's good. So today, yes, we're making pasta Diablo. Pasta Diablo, a little spicy dish. A good friend of mine showed me several years ago, and it was a firehouse favorite when I was over on this side.
Well, that looks delicious.
Artichoke hearts, mushrooms, capers, hot Italian sausage.
Sounds good. Keep going.
Good stuff, good stuff. Fresh diced tomatoes, little garlic.
This will be a first for me.
Hopefully you came hungry, ladies, right?
Yeah, what's the rule in the firehouse? If you do the cooking, do you have to do the cleanup?
If you do the cooking, you don't have to clean, Barb. So I always volunteered to cook.
Well, that sounds good to me.
Right.
I don't think you probably got any complaints at all. With cooking like this, it sounds like they look forward to your cooking.
This is gourmet meal here, Irene, that's for sure. Gourmet stuff.
Well, what happens if you're in the middle of the meal and the fire alarm goes off?
Barb, I can't tell you how many meals I've come back to ice cold or ruined. We have to respond. So if we're cooking even a gourmet meal like this, we can't leave anybody behind. We shut everything down, do what we have to do, and it'll be waiting here for us when we get back.
Sounds good. Is there anything else that you think we might need to know? For example, what to do in case of a fire? Would you recommend calling 911 first? And the other thing, like with a grease fire, when you mentioned it spreading, what do you see most when you go to home fires?
Yeah.
When you see, that it started on the cook stove?
Yeah, so okay, we've already talked about if it's grease fire, and
Yeah.
those are our biggest concerns. Anybody frying anything at home, that is a great concern. I've been on countless house fires from that very action. So you want to be careful, and we're never going to use water to extinguish the grease fire, by the way, all right?
No.
And never try to remove the pan from the stove. I've been on those fires where a pan erupted in flames and they grabbed the pan to try to take it to the sink.
Yes.
Now stuff is leaving the pan, catching the floor on fire, the couch, the table, you know. So never try to remove the pan. Never ever use water to try to extinguish a pan that's on fire.
What happens if you use water?
That increases the intensity, and all you're going to do is make the problems worse.
They talk about throwing flour on a grease fire. Do you do that? Or?
Yeah, your best option there would be
Baking soda?
baking soda,
Baking soda
and
is
you want to do that in large amounts,
Yeah, baking
and all at
soda is
once,
what I
and you want
always
to
heard.
be out. You want to do it safely too.
So is that what you see normally, grease fires?
We see a lot of fires with grease, yes. Very dangerous. And the splattering, you know, the whole process, and that's why it's very important to keep the cook area clean. After every meal you want to clean it, especially when you're frying, because that stuff comes up and it gets all over your walls, your
Sure.
refrigerator, every surface in the house. And that is fuel ready to go. So if you leave it there and something happens, there is a fire event on the cooktop that can cause it to spread.
Out of curiosity, do fires start with grease because the grease gets out of the pan by the fire, or can it actually ignite because the temperature is too high in the pot?
Yeah, so most oils and greases, you want your temperatures right around 350 degrees. That's the cook temp that you want.
How
And
do
if
you
if
know
you are
that?
going to fry, good idea is to have a thermometer, a cooking thermometer available. Stick it in there, because if it's too hot, that's going to cause a reaction when you add food there.
Yeah.
It's going to increase the amount of splatter. Okay, so
Like frozen French fries,
and
you know,
that's-
anything
that's
frozen.
horrible, because now there's water, and oil
Right.
and water do not get along. All right, so very dangerous, which is why we don't want to use water to try to extinguish it. Irene. All right, ladies, those were some fantastic questions. I think the meal's ready. You guys are going to stick around and join me, right?
We're ready.
Absolutely, it
We
looks
are
wonderful.
Outstanding.
ready. Yeah,
So, ladies, what do you think?
fantastic.
Fabulous.
Did you enjoy it?
great.
That's
Gotta
good
be
to
a
hear.
firehouse favorite.
Yeah. Hey, well, I just got to thank you again for coming out. You guys had some fantastic questions. And the number one thing that we need to take away from today is stand by your pan. Thanks for tuning in today, folks. Be sure to check out our website for any additional information. And remember, always stay fire safe.